What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the stock option recap for February 23rd, 2021. The Dow Jones is up 0.05%, the Nasdaq's down 0.5%, and the S&P is up 0.13%. Now, before we get in the video, be sure to hit that like button and also hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can be notified when we go live. We're live market open to market close Monday through Friday, so you'll definitely want to hit that notification bell and you will be notified the second we go live and also when we post videos. Now, today was an extremely crazy day in the market. We were down about 3.5% on the Nasdaq at one point and a little over 1.5% on the S&P. The Dow wasn't down quite as much. The Dow actually held up very well today, considering how much we were down on the other indexes. But today was an extremely volatile day. After the gap down in the morning, we just kept climbing, and the S&P actually ended up closing positive. The Nasdaq went down from 3.5% almost to being positive, which is an insane move. There were a lot of good stocks you could have bought today for an extreme discount and even longer-term options. Pretty much most of your options were at a 100% discount. Unless they were a lot longer term, you still could have got a really good discount on a lot of those longer term options, and a lot of your stocks were at an extreme discount, and I feel like you could have got some awesome pickups today. There were some stocks I wanted to pick up and some longer term options, but I didn't end up doing it, unfortunately. I'm not sure if we're going to have that opportunity again because the market is looking extremely bullish after today, even though that gap down was huge. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the week and next week play out after this crazy down day. I wouldn't be surprised if we just launch up from here, judging by the daily candle on the SPY, but I mean, anything can happen in the market, so we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled. As far as option plays today, you could have played Home Depot yesterday for earnings, and you could have actually did pretty well on Home Depot. You could have got these 255 calls yesterday for about $20. And they ended up shooting up a little over 1,000%. So super crazy earnings play right there. I mean, it was a weekly on the earnings play, but you could have also got these 245s for the next week for about $25-$30. And they shot up a little over 400%, so super dope earnings play there on Home Depot. Wasn't really expecting that, but Home Depot, just like every other stock, gapped down huge, and then they recovered a little bit, but Home Depot's down quite a bit because they didn't give guidance after their earnings. They had extremely good earnings, but guidance is what killed the stock. We have a couple shares in the long term, so maybe I might want to average down on some if it continues to drop, but we'll have to see what happens there. One of the clear winners today was Disney. Disney was bullish pretty much all day. The gap down didn't affect them at all. Could have got these 205 calls on the weekly for about $30 in the morning, and they shot up all the way to $1, so a little over 200%. Not super crazy on the options, but we did talk about Disney yesterday, so you could have got extremely cheap contracts on Disney yesterday and last week, but I'm more impressed with how Disney stock has been moving. I mean, the whole market was down today, but Disney was just extremely bullish today. So I'm really interested in Disney. I'm not sure we're going to see a pullback on there anytime soon because we're just seeing that rotation into the laggers of 2020 because you still had your airlines, cruise lines, banks, and pretty much anything that was lagging in 2020 still pretty bullish today. I think that's why the Dow wasn't down as much compared to the Nasdaq and the S&P, but you're just going to have to keep an eye on those. I'm going to be keeping an eye on either airline plays or maybe another cruise line play if I can get a double dip on there. I ended up selling my RCL contract for about 400%. I'm going to be keeping my eyes for a double dip on there, but I don't want to overpay on premium, so I'm just going to be patient on that. Another stock that had some crazy move today was Snapchat. Snapchat was down a lot, but they ended up having news saying that they were going to have 50% growth over the next few years or something like that, and the stock started moving very, very positively off that news. I mean, Snapchat hit more all-time highs today just off that news alone. We got that news pretty earlier. Shout out Joshua. He called out Snapchat was popping in the chat, and I was able to look up the news. We were actually able to confirm that news for the most part. It wasn't on any of your mainstream news sites, but that's really the only thing I could find on Snapchat that would drive them because the volume just started getting crazy. You could have got some awesome plays on Snapchat. One of the ones I was looking at was the 85 call for March 19th. You could have picked this up for about $20-$30, and it shot all the way up to 150, which is super crazy for a longer term contract. You could have even got this weekly 70 call for about $20-$30, maybe even cheaper if you were a little bit early, and that shot all the way up to 1,000% more towards the close. So Snapchat was super dope. Shout out Joshua for calling that out. I'm glad you called that out, my man. It's dope that we were able to work together on that. Chat called out the stock that was popping. I was able to check the news, so good teamwork on that. Shout out anyone who got into that play. So I really liked that one. I didn't end up playing it myself, but overall I just think it's super dope that we worked together on that one, and I'm super hyped with the outcome. Thank you, Joshua. Another stock that had news today was Apple. They had news that they were increasing their annual dividend. I think it was somewhere about right here, so they had a little bit of a pop, and then pretty much right after that news was when the Snapchat news came out, and Apple just started kind of ripping. I mean, not as crazy as Snapchat, but that was a pretty dope news play. Apple was one of those stocks you could have got really cheap contracts on earlier in the morning when everything was down a lot. So I'm going to keep my eye on Apple. I think it's dope that they're increasing their annual dividend. That's probably going to be really positive for the stock, so definitely want to keep our eyes out on that. One of the craziest news plays out of today was OSK and Workhorse. Workhorse is down a little over 50% on the day and almost 100% as of yesterday. They were at $30 yesterday, and they dropped out $13 more towards the bottom. Looks like they recovered a little bit, but the news was that OSK was going to get a USPS contract to provide the delivery vehicle fleet, and I'm not really sure how that news affected Workhorse, but I'm guessing Workhorse was expected to get that contract or something like that, and they didn't end up getting it, so they sold off huge. This is one of the craziest moves I've seen in a while on the downside. As far as a news play, I mean, we've seen pump and dumps a bunch of times, but just off of a news play, this is actually insane. All the options went crazy. I'm not even going to go through all the option chains. You can check them out if you want. That is just an insane drop on Workhorse. You could have probably picked up something really cheap on there, but I just wasn't even expecting that, so we weren't able to do anything with that. But Workhorse is even crazier than the Snapchat play, in my opinion. I'm blown away at how much it fell off of that news, so we're gonna have to keep our eyes on that and OSK. Even the contracts on OSK went up a lot. You could have got these 120 contracts for decently cheap, about $50 in the morning before the news even hit, and then as soon as that news hit, man, they went insane. A little over 2,000% on there. So you can keep your eyes on OSK and Workhorse, but I don't think you're going to be able to get anything that doesn't have a lot of premium on any of those stocks for a really long time. A couple other option plays that were pretty crazy was Twitter. You could have got these Twitter 80 calls for about $20-$25 earlier in the morning, and they shot up a little over $80 at the top towards the end of the day, so it's pretty crazy move right there. Not as crazy as Workhorse or Snapchat, obviously, but still wanted to show a couple crazy movers today because, I mean, you could have got a lot of cheaper options at a discount, but there weren't a lot of huge option moves, even though we recovered quite a bit after that huge drop. Usually on big down days like this, even if we recover, the options just don't gain as much value because the market's not really expecting the upside to be super huge as it was today. So we might see premiums on the calls gain more value if we start to see more of a bullish trend on the S&P and the NASDAQ, but we'll just have to see how the rest of the week and next week play out. One final one that I really liked was DraftKings. You could have bought these 65 weeklies on DraftKings on the dip this morning for about $20-$25, and they shot up a little over 500% more towards the end of the day, so super dope move on DraftKings. DraftKings actually has earnings on Friday, so it's going to be interesting to see how their earnings report actually reports. We got shares of this in the long terms. It'll be dope to get more information on DraftKings because DraftKings is a fairly new company. I mean, they only IPO'd a little under 2 years ago, and they're sitting at these highs, so they're either going to break out and go crazy or they might get clapped from here. It's just going to all depend on the earnings report. If we can play a put on there, that might be the best bet, depending how it reacts more towards is the earnings report, so I'm going to be keeping on an eye for a play there. I'm also going to be keeping an eye out for a Beyond play if it's possible. Beyond has earnings Thursday after hours, I believe, so we're definitely going to be wanting to keep an eye on that. As far as everything else, we did have Powell today, so that could have been a reason why we bounced up so much. I'm not really sure what Powell said. We didn't end up watching the hearing today. I just wasn't really in the mood. We actually just played Call of Duty for most of the day. Thanks to Joshua, we were able to get that Snapchat news out pretty early, even though I wasn't really paying attention to anything. So shout out everyone in the chat, especially Joshua, for just being active in the market while I'm being a bum and doing my thing. I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you have any news you guys have seen, any options or stocks that you guys are looking at, also put those in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like button and also hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can be notified when we go live. We're live market open to market close Monday through Friday, so you'll definitely want to hit that notification bell so you can be notified when we go live and also when we post videos. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.